The following are two strange and unsettling true accounts of encounters with paranormal forces from the 2000s. Small town scares. In the small desert town of Ridgecrest, California, a family of 6 moved into a seemingly ordinary house in the early 2000s. Little did they know that their new home would become the setting for a series of terrifying encounters that would haunt them for decades to come. The family, consisting of a single mother, her biological daughter, and 3 adopted siblings, had recently relocated from their hometown in New Mexico. The eldest daughter, Nora, who was 16 at the time, took it upon herself to help her mother care for her younger siblings. 2 girls, Emily and Olivia, and the youngest, a boy named Justin. At first, life in the new house was relatively normal. The children adjusted to their new surroundings and attended school regularly. However, as the siblings entered their teenage years, strange occurrences began to manifest within the walls of their home. It all started with Justin, who was only 9 or 10 years old at the time. He began to experience horrifying nightmares that would wake him up almost every night. In these dreams, a ghostly woman with dark hair and a deathly pale face would stand over his bed, watching him as he slept. Nora, being the caring older sister, attributed these nightmares to the stress of coping with a new household and escaping an abusive past. She would often let Justin sleep in her bed when he was too scared to be alone. As time passed, the middle child, Emily, began to exhibit disturbing behaviour. She would talk in her sleep, uttering hateful and violent threats towards her older sister, Olivia. When Olivia confided in Nora about these incidents, Nora initially thought it was simply a result of Emily being difficult and angry when woken up in the morning. However, one particular incident left Nora shocked and unsettled. One morning, as Olivia reached into the top bunk to gently wake Emily, a voice that Nora didn't recognise spoke through Emily's mouth. The voice cursed at Olivia, claiming that it was going to kill her. Nora, still trying to rationalise the strange behaviour, woke Emily herself, only to find that Emily had no recollection of what she had said. Olivia, despite being the eldest of her siblings, was always afraid. She and Nora shared a room and would often stay up late talking about various topics. One night, Olivia revealed to Nora that she was scared to go to the bathroom alone because she felt as though someone was watching her. This fear escalated when Olivia confessed that she had felt someone touch her while she was in the shower, only to find no one there when she looked around and opened the curtain. To Nora's surprise, she had experienced similar sensations in the house, but had dismissed them as silly daydreams. She admitted to Olivia that she too had felt someone pinching her while she was in the shower. However, Nora kept the most unsettling incident to herself, not wanting to frighten her sister further. One day, while Nora was taking a shower, she heard someone enter the bathroom. Expecting it to be one of her family members, she waited for them to announce themselves, only for there to be silence. Suddenly, Nora watched in horror as the shower curtain began to open by itself, as if someone had grabbed the edge and was slowly pulling it back. There were no fingers, no hand there pulling it. In a panic, Nora yelled, "Someone's in here," causing the curtain to fall back into place. When she peeked her head out to see who had done it, there was no one there. From that point on, the atmosphere in the house grew increasingly oppressive. Nora constantly felt watched, especially when she was alone. One afternoon, while homesick and expecting her family to return, Nora heard the front door open and close. She left her room to greet her mother, but found the house empty. As she searched for the source of the sound, she heard voices, a man and a woman, speaking in hushed tones. The voices seemed to be coming from Justin's room, growing louder as Nora approached. Standing in the middle of the room alone, Nora listened as a conversation unfolded around her. Suddenly the voices fell silent, and a woman's voice, loud and clear, said, "She's here." Terrified, Nora fled to her room and refused to come out until her family returned. The family continued to live in the house for several years, enduring more unexplained and terrifying events. Nora couldn't help but wonder if the ghostly woman in Justin's nightmares and the menacing voice that spoke through Emily were connected to the unseen presences that seemed to inhabit their home. Looking back on their time in the house, decades later, Nora and her family are relieved to have escaped the oppressive atmosphere and disturbing encounters that plagued them there. To this day, the family remains uncertain about the true nature of what haunted them there. Were their encounters tied to the house itself, or had these sinister presences followed the adopted siblings from their troubled past? College creeps. In the fall of 2007, a young man named Ethan embarked on his college journey at Monmouth College in Illinois. Little did he know that his freshman year would be marked by a series of bizarre and unsettling events that would forever change his perception of the supernatural. Ethan, a Chicago native, found himself far from home after his family's recent move to Tennessee. As a member of the school's football team, he quickly immersed himself in various activities, including Big Brother Big Sister, Hall Council, and a double major. Despite the small size of the college, with fewer students than his former high school, Ethan embraced the tight-knit community. October 2007 brought an unexpected challenge for Ethan. During the college's fall break, he found himself completely alone on the deserted campus, unable to travel home due to the lack of a car and the considerable distance to his family's new home. For 5 days, Ethan resided in his dorm room, Win Bigler, on the 3rd floor, distracting himself from the drab solitude he had found himself in. In an attempt to combat boredom and make productive use of his time, Ethan decided to tackle various tasks, starting with his laundry. As he descended the stairs to the laundry room on the bottom floor, a sudden sense of unease washed over him. The dimly lit hallways and the pitch-black corridor at the end of the hall only intensified his discomfort. Hesitantly, Ethan started his laundry and quickly retreated outside, seeking solace in the fresh air. Returning to his room, Ethan sought to distract himself by delving into his studies. He opened the windows and blinds, allowing the natural light to flood the space, and settled onto his top bunk to read a book for his integrated language arts class. As he immersed himself in the pages, a series of bizarre occurrences unfolded before his eyes. Without warning, the television in the room flickered to life, its sudden illumination startling Ethan. He scanned the room searching for an explanation, but found none. Moments later, the room light abruptly turned off, depriving him of his reading light. As if guided by an unseen force, a water bottle on his desk began to slide across the surface, eventually tumbling onto his roommate's belongings and rolling across the floor. Gripped by fear, Ethan fled the room, leaving everything behind. He sought refuge outside, his heart pounding in his chest as he tried to make sense of what he had just observed. That night, unable to return to his room, Ethan found himself sleeping in the stairwell, his mind reeling from the terrifying experience. The following semester brought another unsettling incident. After a late class, Ethan returned to his dorm room, setting down his belongings, including his keys, backpack, phone, wallet, and meal card, before making a quick stop at the bathroom across the hall. After this, he planned to head to the cafeteria for dinner. Upon returning, however, just 2 minutes later, Ethan discovered that his room door was mysteriously locked, trapping all his possessions inside. Assuming that his roommate Sam, a fellow football player and track thrower, had returned from practice and locked the door before leaving for dinner, Ethan sought assistance from his resident assistant, or RA, next door. To his dismay, the RA was nowhere to be found. Determined to find help, Ethan searched the second and first floors, but the entire dorm seemed deserted, with not a single person in sight. Frustrated and perplexed, Ethan returned to his room, sitting on the floor by the door, waiting for someone to return and grant him access. An hour passed, and as Ethan leaned his head against the door, it suddenly unlocked on its own accord. Expecting to find Sam inside, Ethan entered the room ready to confront him, only to discover that it was completely empty. Unnerved by these events, Ethan immediately grabbed his belongings and left the campus. He soon transferred to Purdue University, seeking refuge with a friend, sleeping on a futon for the remainder of the semester. His experiences at Monmouth College impacted Ethan profoundly, transforming him into a firm believer in the paranormal.